Welcome in everybody to Biz Riz.
Miss Rizz.
Just Biz Riz. I'm always hoping that Celeste joins me in that. So I'm glad that
I
you
can't do the
did.
voice like you.
Thank you. So our question this week is actually kind of just more generic. Sometimes those are going to come in, and that's absolutely fine. It doesn't always have to be how to get a job in sports and different journeys and avenues that people might take. So here's a look at our question.
Hi, my question is how would you deal with conflict best when it is with your boss or your supervisor, and what is the best way to go about that, especially if you are slightly uncomfortable with the situation?
Okay, Celeste. So this is something that everyone, I'm sure, has had to deal with when you have a conflict with a supervisor or a boss and you don't know how to approach it and you're uncomfortable. What is your go-to? What is your advice?
Well, I think as a strong woman, a lot of times, if I speak my mind or I say what I think, it can alienate people,
Mhm.
right? And it can create conflicts. Um, and so when I have a conflict with a boss, usually I sit down with them and have time where I actually hear what they're saying,
Mhm.
right? And then I want them to hear what I'm saying. And
Mhm.
I'm very careful of the words I choose and the environment we're in when I'm talking to them one on one. I think back when we first started Amy at Fox Sports and all of that, really women were supposed to be quiet, right? Get the job done, work hard. That's how you're going to move up the ladder.
Mhm.
And what's been so great is I think there's so many women in leadership positions now that are like, that's not cool. Speak your
Mhm.
mind, tell us what you think. We're more inclusive. We want to hear what everybody thinks. And if a boss makes somebody feel uncomfortable or you feel a conflict, usually there's support around you now to be able to speak your mind,
Mhm.
right? And to
Mhm.
be able to talk about what's really bothering you. But for me personally, if I have a conflict with someone, I like to go directly to them.
Mhm.
Usually I'm not going to HR or anybody else. I am confronting them first. I think there
Mhm.
are times when you should go to HR, to be honest with you,
Mhm.
like if it's sexual harassment or something like that.
Mhm.
But anything that I've been through, I'm just very direct with a person
Mhm.
and try to deal with them first and make sure that they hear my position and why I think a certain way. And if they don't, then it is what it is, right? The
Yeah.
boss has kind of like that management and it's their viewpoint and their vision and what they want to do. And
Mhm.
as long as it isn't crossing an ethical line, they are the boss.
Yeah.
So, Amy, how do you
Yeah.
feel about it?
Yeah. No, I agree with so much of what you said. And I think you're right. Like if you go even further back to when we started working together in 2001, because there at least was kind of a little contingent of women that we could talk to each other about issues. And that would be one thing that I would definitely suggest for this gal is do you have some colleagues, teammates, let's say, right, that you could discuss this with and see how they're dealing with that particular person. So get some ideas on how to problem solve first. You don't want to go in always being the victim, even if you are, which is fine, but you want to attempt to problem solve. And I think that's always appreciated from a supervisor position that this person not only had the kind of the nerve and the guts to come talk to you about this, but they've come with some potential solutions. So that would be one thing that I would say because you do have so much more room to have a discussion today than you had in the 70s or 80s where that was straight up suck it up buttercup. You're lucky to be here. That's, from our uh podcast manager Adrian, like she knows and so do I. Like that's how it used to be. And fast forward to when we started working together, you had a little more um wiggle room to have these discussions and you certainly had an HR department available to you should it be to a point that you could not come to an agreement with the two of you. At the end of the day, you're completely right. The person who is in a position of superiority, as long as they have not crossed a line, and let's just say they're just being difficult, you're going to need to figure out how to navigate through that. And so, for so many of us on this podcast, being former athletes, that's something we've had to deal with our entire lives. There was never a team that I got along famously with every single person on my team, and you have to figure out how to work together. And that's going to be different and individual and subjective for each person who has that. But you do have avenues, you have support, and there are, we've had HR experts on our podcast already, and that is, if you really can't resolve the conflict with your supervisor, you do need to go to HR and either figure out where else you could be working or who else you might be able to report to if you just can't resolve it. And the biggest thing I would just say is, in today's world, especially 2024, a woman's voice is her most powerful tool. And yet, how you use it is really important. So, you don't want to go in blasting, and be angry and this and that, but you do need to use your voice and you do need to be heard if this particular person is unable or not willing to resolve the conflict with you, because they have a job too. And Celeste, you're a supervisor, you know what it's like to have to be flexible to, work with your team and have them respect you. So I hope that those things are helpful for this person. And remember, like, whatever your questions are, whether it's about getting a job in sports or something generic, just dealing with conflict in the workplace, we've done it for a while. We probably have something to say about it. Thanks for checking out this.